it's Penny here, and today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in December, and I will be doing this book battle style as I usually do, which is where I pair up all the books and I battle them against each other. However, December got really busy. I didn't really do a lot of reading. In fact, I only read 2 books. So we're going to battle them against each other, but it's just one battle. As well, I started last year doing a thing where for every book I don't read off my TBR, I punish myself by donating to charity. In my TBR, obviously, I was incredibly optimistic because I committed to reading 11 books, including physical books and audiobooks. And given that I only read 2, that means I need to punish myself by donating 9 times. I think what I'm actually going to do is my list of viewer recommended charities is 10 long, so I'm just going to donate $10 to each of them. That makes it a lot easier than trying to pick randomly 10 times. It's just too many. So we'll just spread the love around for December. As always, do leave some suggestions of charities down below if you would like me to add them to that list. Because 2021 is already looking like a troublemaker, and I suspect I will be punishing myself a lot more this year. But it's not so bad punishing yourself by donating to charity. Anyway, let's actually talk about the 2 books that I did read, and those were Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse and Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. So firstly, Black Sun. Weirdly, I went into this with the expectation that it was a science fiction, which was completely wrong, and I don't even know where I got that idea from. But it is a fantasy, and it is based on pre-Columbian civilizations, or that's what the thing says. I don't know enough about pre-Columbian civilizations. In fact, I'm not even sure what exactly that is referring to. I think it seems weird to define cultures by their disruptor. But it was Christmas. I had a lot of drama going on. I haven't had a chance to look any of that up yet. But I will, because this is the beginning of a series that I will definitely be continuing. So this is a fantasy, and we're following several different characters. One is this really badass sea captain with mermaid-like powers or siren-like powers, and some really old shit stuff went down with her. We also have this blind man whose mother seems to have been trying to make him into a god. I really loved both of those 2, and they go on a sea journey together. And I really enjoyed the chemistry between the 2 characters. I will say there's also 2 other characters. One is a priestess in this temple where all of the characters are heading towards, and she kind of deals in prophecies, but in general she's trying to kind of get people to be peaceful between the different factions and different tribes. Not sure if that's the right word. And there was another guy who didn't seem that special from the first book. So, as I said, I really love Ziala and Serapio. They were amazing. The magic stuff that's going on seemed really interesting. There was a bit in the middle of the book where things got a bit slow, but I think that really helped to develop the connection with the characters, so I forgive it. And the ending was a little bit rushed, but that ending, I definitely need the next book in the series. I don't know how long we're going to have to wait for that, but I hope it's not too long. Then the other book was Oathbringer. I was listening to the audiobook of this for quite a while, I think, possibly even since November. This is the 3rd book in the Stormlight Archives, and each of these books is like 1,000 pages, so it's kind of hard to talk about it. It's also incredibly complex, so it's even hard to give a really good synopsis. We've basically got this war going on between these 2 different kinds of people. One of them are not really human and the others are, and there's people involved in this who are beginning to learn that they have different powers. There's also a very mysterious past about what's causing these magical storms and these other magical creatures, and lots of different factions forming, trying to deal with an upcoming apocalypse type situation. To be honest, I don't think the way that I read this was ideal because I had so much going on already. The complexity was just a bit too much for me, and I was kind of rushing to try and get through it, and just all the work stuff happening at the end of December meant I was a bit distracted, and I feel like I hadn't remembered everything from the first two books as well as I would have liked to. I actually think that I'm going to go back and reread this series from the beginning. I'm going to buy my own copies though, and I'm just going to take my time and make heaps of notes so that I really can fully digest this story, because I do really love it. In this third book, I do think there were some really interesting reveals about what is going on in the bigger world. And I also think this series is doing something really interesting with looking at the different way that people cope with traumatic events and how those traumatic events kind of impact them in the long term. So as well as having this very epic fantasy with all sorts of complicated, surprising things happening and everything being interwoven really well, we've also got these very human stories at the same time. And I think it's that really keeps me going, although I like the complexity and the surprises as well. So it's a good balance. I do think in Oathbringer there were some bits that I found less interesting. I found the pacing a little bit up and down, but it's a 1,000-page book, so I guess that's to be expected to some degree. But as I said, I'm definitely planning to continue this series and in fact go back and reread it because I really enjoy it. Which is why this battle is actually really hard to decide. In the end, I gave both these books 4 stars. They were both really great, but not quite my favorites. But I do think both of them have the potential for the overall bigger story to be my favorites. But which one would I say is better? Oh, I actually reinstated my reading statistics spreadsheet just at the beginning of January. I updated that so I can do a stats video. It was really useful and interesting to look at, which you will see sometime. But sometimes it helps to have a look at how I rated it in there to see if that gives me any clues. So let me have a look. Oh, nope. It's not helpful. So I gave them both exactly the same rating. I gave Oathbringer a slightly lower rating for pace, but I balanced that against giving Black Sun a slightly lower rating for themes and ideas. So in my spreadsheet, I give things ratings against 5 criteria and then I average them up into my star rating. But anyway, that wasn't helpful. I could definitely make an argument for it being either of the 2 books. I'm trying to remember, because I'm going to do a video where I battle all the champions of the month against each other and come up with the champion of the year. And so I'm trying to remember, do I already have a book from the Stormlight Archives in that? I haven't planned it yet, so I don't know. Okay, whatever. I think, just because of the epicness of the scale of things, I'm going to put Oathbringer through as the champion of December. I mean, Black Sun, I think there's a lot of potential. It's the first book in a series. There were just some parts where it wasn't as good as I wanted, and there were those 2 other perspectives that I cared about a lot less than the main 2. So Oathbringer is the champion of the month. So I think that this is actually going to be a fairly short video. I don't really have much else to say about December's reading though. Hopefully we will do better in January. Do let me know if you've read either of the 2 books that I read in December, because I would love to talk with you more about them down in the comments. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.